Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome back from a nice, beautiful weekend. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday weekend. It was gorgeous here on the East Coast. We were supposed to get a hurricane, but it didn't happen here. And so we had a beautiful sunny weekend, not hot, awesome. And the best part is the kids went back to school this morning. Yay! It was awesome. I had a little bit of a tear. My oldest started high school, and so that was really crazy to watch her like go out the door. And I'm like, "Do you want me to walk you or drive you down to the bus?" She's like, "Mom, this is high school," and I had to remember like, nah, she doesn't want me there. So I had to kind of wave and let her go off on her own. And hi, welcome. How you doing? So that was kind of a crazy morning, and they're coming home this afternoon, and I can't wait to hear all about her first day of high school. And I'm trying to think back, like, oh my God, I cannot believe I have a kid who's actually in high school. I feel like she was just born, and now she's heading off the door. Yeah, I'm definitely having some tears this morning. And I'm happy they're gone. I'm happy they're going out the door in the morning. They're driving me crazy a little bit. Everybody gets a little stir crazy by the end of the summer. It's time to go, especially when you work at home. And oh my God, I had to laugh last week because my kids were like, hi, welcome. Hi guys. They're coming over, they're asking me for all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to work, and I'm like, why can't your friend's mom take you? She's like, well, she works. And I'm thinking, okay, now I know. They don't even realize what I'm doing here. Obviously, I don't look like I'm working. Yeah, her mom works because I just sit here doing nothing, right? Yeah, they see me on social media, on Facebook, and they're thinking, that's not a job, Mom. That's not a job. I'm actually very lucky because it is an awesome job. Hi guys, hi everybody. I figured we'd just do a little chat. One of the things that I said to somebody recently is we're going to come back and have a chat about this because your biggest turns 4 tomorrow. I can't imagine. Yeah, Kaylin, you cannot imagine your son going into, or your daughter going into high school. I feel like mine just turned 4, and now she's 14, turning 15. She said that the other day, and I was like, 15? I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that does come after 14. Somehow that jump feels really big to me. But I wanted to just, before they get off the bus and before they come storming through the door, I wanted to have this little chat with you guys because I got so many questions that all have the same sort of theme to them recently, which is about milk supply. And everybody's talking about how hard kindergarten was. Yes. Everybody's got the same concerns about, am I making enough? Am I making enough? Am I making enough? How do I make more? And I feel like that's what's been coming through here. And I want to talk to you just a little bit about that, and not just from the perspective of like all the different things that you can take to increase supply, because I think everybody's looking for some magic pill or something to take to make more milk. But I want to talk to you about how do you actually make milk, and what is the most effective way so that you can maintain your supply, and then also how to make more if you really do feel like you're not making enough, and why that might be happening. One of the things that I want to say is that for most moms, it is a perception issue more than an actual issue. And that is not to say that there aren't some people who may be struggling with their supply for one reason or another. And a lot of times, I think that was my post this morning, was about the idea that most women can make enough milk to feed their babies. And if they think they're not making enough, that perception of I'm not making enough because either you think so, or a doctor told you, or somebody told you, can actually have you start supplementing, not doing what you need to do so that you maintain enough or build enough of a supply from just nursing frequently and allowing your baby to kind of guide you into what they need. That then can cause the real issue. So you may not have had a milk supply issue, but you thought you did because you thought you needed more than what you actually needed. You started to supplement, and then you actually create that milk supply issue. So okay, and so I'm seeing here right now saying, Tara's saying, I feel like hers has dropped since she started solid food. She's cluster feeding so bad. She's 7 months and she has dropped to the 5th percent. Okay, so this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So sometimes what you have to realize is that your milk will fluctuate, okay? Not just fluctuate like during the day and night, which it will, which I'm about to discuss, but also from day to day, week to week, month to month. And then when they start to eat solids, you will definitely see those fluctuations. You may see that your child is gaining a lot in the first few months and then starts slowing down. And what you're seeing right now when she's starting to eat solids, probably she is just slowing down. If she's in the 5th percentile, doesn't mean that she's not gaining weight. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tara, but I'm assuming she's not losing weight. She's just starting to gain a little bit slower, which is normal for a breastfed baby. So again, perception issue that she should somehow be getting larger and larger and larger, when in fact she's not gaining as much, but she's starting to eat some solids, and you may just be making exactly what she needs with her leading you on her breastfeeding. So that's just one example. What I want to talk about is also the idea of for during the day. We make more milk typically, and you will see this, and anybody who has notices this for themselves, just give me some likes or hearts, that you notice that you make more milk during the night and first thing in the morning. That's when you're fullest, is first thing in the morning or during the night. And that's pretty much typical for almost everybody who's breastfeeding. Is that what you would notice for yourself? I know there's a delay, so yes. Okay, good. So you will see that you'll make more first thing in the morning and at night. And then during the evening, like late afternoon, dinner time, early evening hours, you'll notice that your milk supply is less and your baby may want to feed more frequently. What you need to understand is that even though there's less volume later on in the day, there is a higher fat content to that milk. So this is how it works. When your breast is full, there's more watery milk, less fat until you get to the breast being empty. When the breast is more empty, like in the evening, early evening hours, you may have less milk, but there's higher fat. So the baby could be getting as many or more calories later in the afternoon when you feel less full than they're getting first thing in the morning. Okay? And even when they're getting more milk. So you can't really judge it like that. It's very different than like formula in a bottle. Formula would be the same, right? From the top of the bottle to the bottom of the bottle. It doesn't change in consistency or calorie composition or fat composition from the beginning to the end. But when the breast is more on the empty side, the milk that is being expressed is very high fat. And so this is very important because even if you see less milk, you are still providing calories to your baby. And one person may have, a certain amount of volume at the beginning of the day, and then you're going to have less at the end of the day. The most important thing is to keep feeding the baby when the baby wants to eat or when the baby's hungry. When I get these questions about how do I increase my supply, what they're asking is, what can I take? Right? That's what you're asking is, what can I take? If I want to increase my supply, what can I take? And, there are enhancements that you can take. And I like to use that word because really all the teas, the tinctures, the fenugreek, the More Milk Plus, all these things that you could take do work to enhance milk supply, but they're not going to be the thing that actually increases your supply. The thing that increases your supply, if you even need to increase your supply, is nursing more. That's always my answer. If you feed or nurse or pump more, okay, and I'm talking about those are for moms who are like exclusive pumpers. I don't mean for just everybody who's breastfeeding to increase your supply, pump more. It's feeding at the breast, draining the breast, expressing more from the breast is going to make more milk. So when you have someone who, I'll have someone say, well, I wait to feed when I feel nice and full because otherwise I feel really empty and baby I'm going to wait till I feel a little fuller. Or I'm going to wait a little bit till I feel fuller to pump my breasts. That's actually signaling your brain to make less milk. So it's the exact opposite of what you want to do. In order to make a lot of milk, the key would be to keep your breast as empty as possible. Okay, so if you want to make more milk, I guess that would be my answer. Keep your breast as empty as possible. That means feed more frequently or if you're exclusively pumping, pump more frequently. Or if you are pumping at work, add another pumping in. Or if you're pumping at work and you can't add another pumping session, is maybe another feeding session during the night. Those are the ways that you're going to make more milk. The more, it's like what it is, it's a negative sort of feedback system that your body has. So when your breasts get really full, and that means you've waited a long time from the one feeding to the next or one pumping session to the next, when that fullness happens, it sends a signal to your brain to actually make less. Okay, so that waiting is having your body make less milk. When you drain your breast and the breast is empty, when the emptiness is there, it sends a signal to your brain, make more, make more. So if you are asking me the question, how do I make more milk? The answer is keep your breast empty. Keep your breast empty. Keep your breast empty. Feed your baby. Let your baby feed. Okay, so that is really the answer. And then all the other things are just enhancements to that, because I have never seen a mom who, is not feeding frequently enough or is going to just increase their supply from supplements. You need to do it with feeding. That's how your breast knows how much to make. Okay. And so so someone's asking a question right now. Lacey's asked, I just came over here. I'm not sure if I'm having some foremilk, hindmilk imbalance, oversupply, or if my own milk intake is bothering baby with major spit up issues. Okay, so what she's talking about here is the foremilk and the hindmilk. That's the fat and the water. Okay, so foremilk is the milk that initially comes out when you first start feeding, when I was talking about lower calorie, more water, less fat. And then as you keep draining the breast, what's behind it is the hind milk. The hind milk is where the fat is. That's why when the breast is more empty, you will have more fat in it, okay? If you have an imbalance, what she's talking about is an oversupply. So some people are not struggling with not having enough milk. They're struggling with too much milk, which could be caused from many different things. It could be a lot of pumping. It could just be a genetic thing where you just make a lot more milk. If that is the case, and you're oversupplying, yes, you might be feeding the baby a lot of watery milk. That could lead to a couple things. It could either lead to the baby not gaining as fast as the baby could if there was more fat, okay? It could lead to more gassiness because the baby needs more fat in order to digest all the lactose that's in human breast milk, okay? So if you have a lot of watery milk, the baby might feel more gassy, might seem more fussy because they're not getting all the lactose. They're not able to digest the lactose as well as if the milk was more fatty. So if that was the case and you do have an oversupply and there's a little bit of imbalance, the way to handle that is to try to feed completely on one side and not switch sides during the feeding. It could be leading to spit up, but that sounds like more, if the baby's spitting up from an oversupply issue, it sounds like less because of the hind milk, foremilk, and more because of the oversupply. You may not be burping frequently enough during the feeding, or the baby's gulping really hard because there's so much supply, and the force is really there, so that you might just want to stop the baby, and then get the little air bubble out, burp the baby, and that could be causing the spit up. Or the baby might be overeating really quickly because it's pouring out, okay? Pouring out. And so they're just throwing up what they actually didn't need to be taking. The main thing here is to recognize that the milk is fattier at the end and watery at the beginning. This also leads to the conversation of like, why do some women make more milk than others? Why do you talk to like for me, for example, I never made like a ton of milk. I exclusively breastfed both the girls, and I just was never somebody who could just make a ton of milk. I kind of struggled for every ounce that I had. I didn't have a lot to actually pump extra for them because they were eating all of it. Luckily, when I went back to work with my second, Talia, she came with me. I had a store at the time, and so she was there, and so I would just nurse her because I really struggled to pump extra when I was with her. And And with both my kids, I didn't have to supplement, but I knew I needed to feed them regularly. Like I needed to feed, I think I fed every 2 to 3 hours the entire year. Like I could never go longer than 3-hour stretches. They couldn't sleep a lot during the night because they needed to eat. What that spoke to was breast capacity. And what that means is genetically, that's how much I could make during a feeding. I couldn't make more than that. When I looked at my sister, my sister, she killed me. We were both having our kids around the same time. We had them like a year apart, each of them. And I would watch her pump and she would like be filling up these bottles with her eyes closed, hand me more bottles. And she'd be filling up these bottles. And I was like, oh my God. I remember saying to Joe, how does she do this? This is crazy. Like I can't do that. And she can. It was not something that I was doing wrong. And it was not something that I had to really stress about. What I needed to know was that I just had a different breast capacity than my sister. My sister had more capacity, could hold more milk in her breast, and therefore her babies could go longer stretches between feedings. Her babies could go 4 hours. Her babies could sleep through the night sooner than mine could. She had more milk from one feeding to the next, but over a 24-hour period, we both made enough. And that's the most important thing that I think you need to realize is that you can't really change that capacity very much. How much your breast can hold is how much your breast can hold. And that's going to dictate how frequently your baby needs to eat. If you wait and you don't feed your baby and you try to stretch it out so you can be more like your friend, that's how you're going to decrease your supply and you start creating issues. Can you all see how the overthinking of all of this, the trying to control the situation, trying to manage it or go on some kind of schedule with it is actually what causes the issues to begin with? It's actually what creates the issues more than the issue itself. I don't see too many people with that issue unless they've somehow caused it. And let's say this, there are people out there with, insufficient glandular tissue. There are people out there who have hormonal problems or PCOS or thyroid issues that can actually have milk supply problems. But I'm talking about the majority of women. And so it's really about knowledge. This is the reason why I keep putting up these breastfeeding myths. Do you guys like those little pictures of gorgeous babies and breastfeeding myths and tips that I'm posting? Because I'm trying to think of what are the things that people probably don't know? Like the most common myths that you may not be thinking of that you don't really understand the way it works. And then I've been posting about it and it seems like you guys been really liking it. I'm just trying to think of what it is that when I talk to women, what do they not know? And they're like, oh my God, I never knew that. Or I breastfed 4 kids and I never heard of that before. So I don't know. Have you guys been enjoying those? Cause I feel like you guys, I've been getting a lot of, feedback on that you guys have enjoyed them. And that was one of them was this morning. Yes. Good. I'm going to keep going with those because I think that that's the kind of stuff, there's breastfeeding education of how do I store it? What are the times on this? Or how do I latch the baby properly? And then there's the breastfeeding education that I love to talk about, which is all the stuff and the amazingness of breastfeeding, our bodies, our babies, nature, the way things are that just work out a certain way. They're so perfect that most people are just not aware of because they've never been educated. And I feel like if knowing that stuff before you nurse or during nursing makes everything kind of fall in line and makes you feel so much better. And I'll get comments every single day from everybody just saying, oh my God, this made me feel so much better. This is exactly what I was thinking of, for example, drinking enough water. Okay. You might be sitting there thinking, I know my diet's not perfect, or I'm not drinking enough water. Am I making enough milk for my baby? Is that am I going to have a problem? And the answer is, as long as you're hydrated, no, it's not going to decrease your supply. So just knowing that is going to have you drink to thirst, not overhydrate, which can actually cause the issue. And these are the simple things that are really important to know. Really important to know. I'm sitting here. I get so distracted when I do this because I'm reading all of your reading all of your comments. I love hanging out with you. So I'm reading these comments as you're sending them to me. I actually had one on my wall here that I'm going to look at real quick because it kind of spoke to what we're discussing right now, and I want to answer her question because it's been up for a few days and I know that she was asking me. Let me just look at it for a second here. This was from let's see. Yes, this was from Stephanie, and Stephanie said, my almost 6-month-old breastfed baby is starting to wake up every 2 to 3 hours at night. Previously, she had been sleeping 8 to 10 hours straight. I'm a full-time working mom, and the lack of sleep is affecting everything, including my milk supply. Is this a phase? Should I be doing something different? I'm not completely sure. It's due to hunger and it's mostly comfort nursing. She's 98% for growth. Please advise. Okay, so obviously this child is not having an issue with weight gain. But when did you go back to work? I'm sure this whole idea that the baby was sleeping through the night, it gives you an indication that you did have enough milk